Hey guys, I'm Reagan, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about crocheting tools. I started crocheting about 5 years ago now, and there are so many things that I made so much harder for myself by not knowing about tools that were out there, and it would make learning crocheting like so much easier and a more enjoyable experience. So I'm going to tell you about all the things that honestly now I can't believe that I didn't use and I probably could not live without now. And if there's anything that I'm missing or that you think will, I guess, make crocheting a more enjoyable experience for me, please let me know. I am always open to trying new things. So these are somewhat in order of when you would use them. So to start with things that you would use, I guess, before you start or right at the beginning, to start with, I would suggest having some way to wind yarn. You can do this by hand or you can get one of those winders. I do have one of those umbrellas for when I get those nice little twists of yarn, and I also have the thing that you kind of put on a table and you wind it into a nice yarn cake. Either is fine, just anything so that I don't get the yarn all tangled up, because I want to crochet, not sit there and untangle yarn. Honestly, the amount of times I have sat there with my crocheting on one side, the ball of yarn on the other, and I'm sitting there trying to detangle it. Too many. It's very stressful, would not recommend. And so just detangling it from the beginning, and that also goes for the balls or skeins that you get at like Joann's or Michael's that have the center pull or the outside pull, because when I use the outside pull, it kind of just runs everywhere and it kind of ends up just flopping at some point. And if it's the middle pull, what happens sometimes is that it just becomes a big knotted mess. Would not recommend dealing with that. So whether doing it by hand or having a little doodad for it, would suggest, and to keep it organized, is some type of project bag. I'll be honest, all the times I just use a tote bag or a little wicker basket, but there are bags that are specific for fiber arts. They'll usually have some type of closing on top with little holes that you can put the yarn through so that the ball of yarn's on one side and then you have your crocheting or knitting on the other, which is great when you don't want the ball of yarn to run away from you. Just to kind of keep it in one spot, it's contained. If it bounces, it rolls, it's going to be in the bag. There's also yarn bowls. I have to say I have not tried them, but I believe it is a similar idea. In terms of actually starting the project, there are many crochet hooks, as I'm sure you have seen. I personally don't like the wood ones just because of the friction that they have, but also I have broken wood crochet hooks before, just had the end come off. I don't know if I was just being a little rough with it, but I usually stick with metal ones. And there are the ones that don't really have a ergonomic grip. Personally, those make my hands cramp, but you can always add ergonomic grips. I usually just go for the ones that have them on already. I believe the ones I have are from Clover. But that being said though, there is a difference between I believe it's the Susan Bates one and the Clover ones, that is not just about the handles. It's also the hook itself. One kind of, I can't remember the names of it, but I will show a photo and I will put the name of it. So one of them is a bit more tapered. It's like there's one flat slope that goes to the hook before you actually make the stitch, and the top is pointy, which is great for when I am trying to make something that has a bit of a tighter gauge or the yarn's really small or something and I have to really dig in there. So when I've made stuffed animals, decorations, stuff like that. And there's also the ones that are more of a gradual slope decrease, I guess, into the head of the crochet hook. It's a little rounder. I find those to be a bit more of a more comfortable experience, and I'm less likely to tear into my yarn, which I have done before with the really pointy ones. So that's more of a personal preference, but I would suggest metal over plastic or wood, because those just add so much friction, and when you crochet a lot, at least for me, it was straining my wrists and my arms. And I guess in that vein of keeping things organized with the hooks, having some type of pouch to hold them all in and all your little knickknacks for crocheting. I personally have a pouch from the Unemployed Philosophers Guild. It's just Shakespearean insults. It makes me laugh. You can honestly use a Ziploc bag, but just something to keep them all in one place, because having them just loose in a box can be very annoying, I won't lie. I have a couple of duplicate sizes because of that, because I thought I didn't have a size and it turned out I did. And I'm sure you've seen the little neck lights for crocheting. I don't have one of those. I actually have one of those headlamps that I think I just got at like Home Depot for $5. It works. you know, I like it. It works when I want to crochet at night, but I do also have crochet hooks that have a handle. It has a battery and you can turn it on, and then the hooks are clear plastic, and so it shines a light through it. So just instead of having a large light either from your neck or from your head shining down on it, it's just the hook that lights up, which is great if you're watching a movie at home with your family, friends, and you don't want to disturb anyone and they want to have the lights down, but you still want to crochet. Or if you're crocheting with dark yarn and you can't see very well which stitch you need to pick up, I highly suggest it. You can get them for pretty cheap on Amazon. Mine was a gift, so I don't know precisely which one it was, but it has been useful, although I do forget to charge it, and that does kind of suck. But when it is charged, it's very helpful. Personally, I have never really used the row counters. I do have one. I forget about it, and I'm a visual person. So usually what I do is I actually just take stitch markers and I'll put them every 5 or 10 rows, and that is easier. Or however many stitches. I divide it up. And there are cute ones, I'd like to say. I did not know that until recently, where they put a little charm on it, and they don't have to be the plastic ones, although the plastic ones are fine. The little ones that sort of look like a safety pin, but they come in these like little plastic envelope like things, and I would suggest having them in something else at some point because it does break. And for me, I used an old mint tin, and it has worked really well for me. I don't worry about it breaking and then losing stitch markers or them being everywhere or hunting around my pouch for them. It makes life a lot easier when you're at least somewhat keeping up with how many stitches you have, because it sucks when you think you've finished something and then you look at it and you realize that you've been dropping stitches almost the entire time, and instead of it being a rectangle, it is now some type of triangle. Now this is something that I just think is funny, but I originally got because it was funny, but then I actually really like it. It's these prism mirrored glasses. The ones I have are kind of half, so that I can also have my glasses on, but I like it because my neck won't hurt because I'm looking straight ahead, usually at like a TV or something, or even if I'm not watching anything and I'm just crocheting. It's nice having my head up instead of pulling my posture forward. And with the prism, how it works is when you're looking at the glass, you're actually seeing a mirror that's looking down. It does take a little bit of getting used to, I will say, but it has saved my neck. And if you haven't tried it and you happen to know someone who has one, or you want to try it out, I would suggest getting one because it is a lot of fun. And yeah, kind of also in the vein of keeping your body pain-free is some type of compression glove. There are ones that are made by the knitting and crocheting brands. Personally, I actually just use one that I got from the drugstore just because I like the fit of it better. Yeah, I just have compression gloves on my wrists. Sometimes I have a counterforce brace on my arm, and honestly, it has really helped with how long I can crochet for. In terms of things that are great for towards the end of the project, oh my gosh, if you do not have one already and you're using a plastic embroidery needle for weaving in your ends, stop and go get a metal one. It makes it so much easier because, again, friction, it glides way better. But also, I was making these poison apples, the ones from Snow White, and I was using one of those plastic embroidery ones. It broke. I don't suggest it. You can like warp it. It makes it a lot harder to weave in the ends. Please go out and get a metal one. And also with the embroidery hook, this is something that I recently, discovered. I'm terrible at actually putting yarn or thread through the eye of the needle. And I thought to myself, man, there must be some type of like threader. There is. Clover makes them. You put it through the eye of your embroidery hook, and then it has this much bigger loop that you put your yarn through and pull it. Anyway, it makes life so much easier. I'm not sitting there trying to get it through the eye and the yarn going this way and that way and a whole thing. Anyway, I do suggest you can get them at craft stores or again Amazon. I think I got mine from Amazon and I didn't realize it at the time, but it came in a 3-pack. I have a couple of family members who also like to crochet, so I've kind of been sharing them and we all love them. And also, now you can do this with many different things, some type of blocking something. So you can get ones that are like blocking mats that are specific for blocking. I personally just, at the time, Target in their little dollar section had the kids number mats. I just use those. I don't know if they're different, other than the fact that they don't have the grid on there. But then you do also need to have the needles. So you can also get these like wood boards with pegs in them, and usually the holes in the board are, you know, like a 1/2 inch or something. And so you can make sure it's fairly uniform. There's also other ways to block with a towel, but if you're doing something that is maybe granny squares or something that has panels, I find it to be so helpful to have either a blocking mat or again a board of some kind. I hope that was helpful, and if you have anything that you think would help me, I would love to hear about it. And if you like this video, you might like some of the other ones that I have up or future videos. So I will put that up on the screen, and I hope you have a great week and that I see you next time.